Today we've got 3 brand new Ford pickups. Let's see which one is right for you. What's going on, guys? It is Matt with Susquehanna Automotive here, and today we are down at our Susquehanna Ford location. Now what I've got behind me are 3 brand new trucks. Now I've got the Ford Maverick, the Ford Ranger, and the Ford F-150. All 3 great vehicles by Ford, and we're gonna be walking through the process of figuring out which one is gonna suit you the best. Now in this video, I am not gonna be going over complete technical specs of these vehicles. I would take, honestly, probably an hour-long YouTube video, especially to break down the F-150 and the Ranger with all of their different options. If you have more questions, feel free to give us a call, check out our website, or drop by if you're in the local area. The first question you need to ask yourself when looking at these pickups is, how am I going to use these the most? We're gonna start with the Maverick and work our way down, so let's get right into it and talk about which one is gonna suit you the best. Now the first truck on deck is going to be the all-new 2022 Ford Maverick. And I gotta say, we actually love this little truck. We've done 3 videos before, hauled a bunch in the bed, and really tested it out. Now the question that I'm asking in this first part is, who is this truck right for? Now the person that's gonna be interested in this truck is someone that either lives in a city or a more rural area but doesn't need a full-size or even mid-size truck. This one does have a lot lower ground clearance ability but does come in an all-wheel drive option. And when I say it's perfect for someone in the city, that's because this thing gets incredible fuel economy regardless if you get it in the hybrid or the 2.0-liter EcoBoost engine. If you get it equipped right, you can tow up to 4,000 pounds, but anything over that, you're not gonna be able to do it with this little truck. However, for most people, a 4,000 pound capacity is gonna be just fine. Whether you've got a small utility trailer, you're hauling your lawnmowers around, or even throwing up to 1,500 pounds in the bed, this truck is gonna serve you pretty well. So if you're looking for good fuel economy, you don't tow that much, and you're looking to still carry some things in your bed up to 1,500 pounds, this is gonna be the truck for you. Now we've moved on to the Maverick's big brother, the Ford Ranger. This was released in the US market a few years back, but has been available overseas in this trim configuration for the past almost decade. This is a tried and true reliable vehicle that offers a lot of great capabilities to those looking to buy it. Now I say it's kind of the mid-range in between the Maverick and the F-150, and this is for someone that likes to take it out to the trails, likes to maybe go out a little bit further than the Maverick could, and still needs to tow a reasonable amount. The towing capacity on this is mid-range compared to the Maverick and the F-150, and you're gonna be right around that 5,000 pound mark, depending on, you can go upwards or downwards on how you suit this out. This is gonna be mid-range when it comes to fuel economy. Overall though, this is the one that I would recommend for the off-roader, someone that tows a little bit more and wants to have a little bit smoother suspension when they are towing, because this has a solid rear axle, and also for someone that still cares about fuel economy but doesn't necessarily need the full-size F-150 to be towing all the time. The last one in the lineup today, the full-size Ford F-150. Now there's a reason that this has been the best-selling truck for the past few decades, and that's because this thing is reliable. Ford offers a ton of different engine options. Heck, they're even coming out with the Ford Lightning, which is a fully electric, ready-to-roll F-150. Now all of these today in our configuration are XLT packages, and the pricing on these really varies depending on the trim and what model you get. Now with the F-150, I'll say my parents currently own a 2021 F-150, and they tow frequently. They've got an 8,000 pound camper, and they're constantly pulling it behind the truck, taking it to wherever their next adventure is. And moving down to a Ranger or a Maverick, albeit when they're driving in the city for a good amount of time, will not tow the same way that this can. The F-150 serves great purposes when it comes to towing and payload. However, when it comes to fuel economy, it's not as good as the Maverick or the Ranger. If you equip it the right way or get the Lightning though, you won't need to use any fuel. The F-150 is a great option, but with all the great options in it, does come at a higher price point. So always be aware of that. If you want to tow, if you want to have some more payload capacity, you're going to pay a little bit more, but you are going to get a lot more features. With that being said, that's enough talk about this. Let's move on to the bed comparison, because that is the main aspect of the truck that we want to talk about. So we're at the back of our 2022 Ford Maverick. I got my trusty tape measure that I borrowed from one of the techs inside the shop here, and we're going to do some measurements on this thing. Now this is going to help you guys gather a good ability to see how big or how small these beds are and really what the benefits are. First thing I want to do is I'm going to take this tape measure and I'm going to just do the bed height right to the top of the frame rails. Now mind you, this is an XLT package with the FX4 and the all-wheel drive. So if you're looking for a direct comparison, that's what we've got here. On the bed height, we are just at about 49.5 inches. So 49.5 from the ground to the top of the bed rail here. We're on pretty even ground here, so no real slope. I'd say you're gonna be at about 49.5 to 50 inches from the bed rail here. The next thing I want to do is I'm actually going to take this tape measure and measure from the very bottom of the bed to the top of the bed rail here. I we're at about 20 inches. So you've got 20 inches from the bottom of the bed to the top of the rail here. That's gonna be your limit. Now these are true measurements. You can get all these specs too on Ford.com or on our website, but these are gonna be the measurements that I'm doing here today. And I think some of them aren't really noted just because it varies on trim to trim. So take that with a grain of salt when we're talking about this. It could vary a little bit based upon trim. Now from the front of the bed to the back of this, we are looking at 55 inches. And then from the front of the bed all the way to the edge of the tailgate, this flat edge here is 79 inches. We'll check the width, the maximum width of this entire bed, and we're looking at just over 53 inches for the maximum width. Now inside the wheel wells, just over 42. So about 42.5 inches inside the wheel well is what we're getting from our measurements. They might vary a little bit from Ford's site, but that's what we're getting real world. The last thing I wanted to check is also how far this is from the ground. And we are looking at 29.25 inches from loading from something off the ground to the top of this. So not very tall, just under 3 foot, and pretty easy to get it to be loaded up into there. Moving on to the Ranger, we're gonna do the same thing we just tried out in the Maverick. Now, obviously, you can already see that the bed height is higher than the Maverick was. And so let's take that first measurement right off of the ground to the top of the bed rail height. And we went right about at the tail light. 55.25 inches, so a little bit taller than what that Maverick was. 21.25 for the bed height inside there, but not too much taller on the actual bed height there. So you're only about 1 inch taller than the actual Maverick, so you can still haul a good amount. Now we're gonna check here the length of the bed, 61.25 to the back side of this bed, and to the edge of the tailgate, 85.75. So definitely longer when you go to extend this, and a little bit longer on that bed length by a few inches. Nothing really crazy with this one so far. Let's measure the inside of the bed here. And we're gonna do this from the widest point. And we're looking at just about 60 inches, so right about 5 feet on the width of this. Now let's check in between the wheel wells. Wheel well to wheel well, we're at 44 inches. Let's check and see how tall this is. It already looks a little bit taller than the Maverick, so we'll do an exact measurement here. To the lowest point, we are at 35.5 inches, so quite a big jump from the Maverick actually to the Ranger. 35.5 inches there for the actual layer that you're going to pick this up and set it into the bed. Last truck in our lineup is gonna be an F-150 XLT. This one has the power boost in it too, so let's start with that measurement just on the bedside here. And obviously we've been getting taller, but this one doesn't look too much crazier than the Ford Ranger. We're looking at 58 inches, just shy of 58 inches. And then we'll reach in here and let's do it from the actual bedside to the floor, 21.5. So not too much terribly taller. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed by the Maverick. It's almost got the same depth, minus 1.5 inches from the F-150. So let's drop this tailgate. Got the nice automated drop. Love that in the F-150. Completely hands-free. So let's do the measurement from the front. And mind you, this is a 5.5 foot bed too. You can get this in a longer bed than this. You can actually do 6.5 or a full 8 foot bed. You just have to change up the cab configuration. But for our purposes, 5.5 foot. And we are at 5 feet and 7 inches to the edge here. And then all the way to the edge of the tailgate, we are at 92 inches. Now the next measurement, let's do across. And this is where you're gonna get the main benefit from the F-150. And you can see just how much wider this is than the other trucks. 65 inches, so 5 foot 5 inches from the widest point. Let's check the wheel wells. I'm gonna have to climb up here. From wheel well to wheel well, we are at 50.5 inches. So we've got the spray and liner, might be accounting for about 1/8 of an inch, but 50.5 inches from wheel well to wheel well. And honestly, it doesn't look too much taller than the Ranger, but let's see right now, about 37.25 inches from the ground, nice and level too in this spot here, to this actual facing location. So a little bit bigger. The main benefit of the F-150 is gonna be the width. I wouldn't say that you're gonna get a crazy benefit on the actual bed height. You got about 1.5 inches from our smallest one, but the width of this is definitely gonna be the performer. Actually seeing these things side by side gives me a great perspective on how formidable the Ford Maverick is compared to that full-size F-150. The bed height is very comparable, within 2 inches of it, and I gotta say, I'm almost a little bit more impressed at how big the bed was in the Maverick. That's a very cool truck, and definitely something that you can haul a lot in and be comparable to a full-size F-150 with a 5.5 foot bed. But the F-150 definitely does stack up when it comes to towing. Either way, guys, all three of these trucks stack up and hold their own weight in their respective categories. If you're interested in any of these three, we can easily factory order them for you down at Susquehanna Ford here by giving us a call or clicking on our website. If you're looking at this video, both the Ford F-150 and this Ranger are in stock. And if you're looking at it a little bit down the road and they're not in stock, we can easily order you one, just like I said before. Now, until next time, I'm Matt from Susquehanna Automotive, and I'll catch you on the next one.